There is an affordable housing shortage in our country, and the same is true around here.
Being out on your own, things get pretty expensive, so sometimes you have to choose what you're going to pay for, whether you pay for rent or food.
I've been living with my brother, my sister, my son, and I thought, it's time for you to shape up and get on your own. I gotta find some place for myself that I can afford.
You have people who work in the bank, you have people who work at the Safeway. It's a complete mix of people. There's first responders. The prices have just skyrocketed since the 50s. So basically, you can't afford to rent. You can only afford to buy if you're wealthy, and otherwise, there's just nothing for you.
The people who live around here, our neighbors, our children's friends, they look about and they wonder, how will I afford a place to live? How will I and my children have a good life? And the answer for hundreds of people here over the past 40 years has been the Windy Hill Foundation.
Started on a very small scale. Rennie Llewellyn was still around when I was on the board, and she's the one that got this whole thing started.
One day she was sitting at the entrance to Windy Hill, picking up a young man that she was helping, and she sat and looked at the situation of the houses along Windy Hill Road. 12 families together, served by 4 outhouses and 2 cold water spigots. You had to carry your water home in a jar or a bucket. The road was dirt, and some of the floors of the homes were dirt. And she said, basically, this isn't acceptable in my adopted country, and certainly not in my hometown.
There were many people in the community who really wanted to get involved. They didn't want to see people living in those conditions anymore. The revitalization of the neighborhood brought great pride to the residents. Living in decent housing gave the families an opportunity to concentrate on improving their lives.
When I was growing up in public housing with my siblings and parents, one thing we never worried about was where we were going to sleep, where we were going to eat, where we were going to study. We knew that.
I had a relative that lived here, and I came to visit her, and I fell in love with the apartment, and I went straight to the rental office and applied.
And one apartment came up at Llewellyn Village, and she came back the next day and said it was ours. I couldn't wait to move in.
And a couple weeks later, I went back to visit my relative again, and Wendy Church came in and asked, how do I get in touch with Frances Wallace? I said, that's me. She said, well, I have an apartment for you. I was so excited.
I just love the view. I've lived here 16 years and I still look around and say it's mine. I enjoy it.
It just made me a better person. When I left out of here, I could come back and I was home.
Over the past 4 decades, Windy Hill has renovated and built more than 300 houses, all of which provide a safe, affordable, and decent place for more than 800 people to go home to each night. It makes up 16% of all the housing in Middleburg, 20% of all the housing in the Plains, and 7% of all the housing in Marshall. The hard part has already been done. The 300 houses are built. The goal now is first to make those homes permanent. And the second is to continue to deliver a good resident services program for the people who live in them.
We partner with the county programs as well, and all of that combined has really made everything sort of interlocked and working. Look at it as a triangle of the 3 places, and people can benefit from all the programs in the 3 places.
Education was a big initiative for us. I learned that every child should have the opportunity to get a good education. The kids from lower income families were just losing out. We had after school programs going, and then we added fall gear. We got the buses. We had set up an education fund for college and vocational assistance, and that was going strong. And then with the help of Julie Coles and Ann Northrup, we started the Nest of Wings program, which is still going.
It really is emblematic of offering support for our littlest residents. We're the Nest. We provide this safe, decent housing, this nest, so that some of the birds can fly. And maybe they stay nearby, and maybe they are fortunate enough to go on to college and move on and live elsewhere. But that nest is still there for those that need it. And that's the goal, to provide the nest and the resources to fly.
James Baldwin famously said once, the children all the children in the world belong to us. I felt that especially here with the children. They were our future. I had heard about Wendy Hill and I thought it was an extraordinary idea, and I was certainly honored to be invited to join. I was running something called Team Saturday. I kind of knew their stories, and it excited me to be more involved than I was. What was going on here was good work.
Kim Hart had been the executive director and did a great job. Property management was in place, resident services was in place. What I learned early on was that I wanted to be as hands-on as possible with the residents. What's most impactful for them? What's going to make the biggest difference in their lives?
I really wasn't expecting anything because I've never heard of this type of living before. But let me tell you, by the time I got here, I was overwhelmed with all the wonderful things that go on here.
The programming at Levis is very impactful. It keeps them mentally and physically prepared. It allows them to live their latter years with dignity.
The bus trips, the meals that they serve us. I've always lived alone, and all of a sudden I got these people knocking on my door saying, "Welcome home." Do you know how wonderful that makes me feel? Come on in and see my apartment. When a person walks into your home, they should be able to tell who you are. All the crafts, the trips, it's wonderful. We don't feel old and thrown away. And then we go on bus trips and it explains, my brother lives over there, my aunt lives over there. And so they're trying to make me, and they made me feel like part of their family. It's just a community of elderly people here. Your peers. And that makes a difference. I take part in everything. I think I've been on every bus trip. When the wheels roll, I want to be on it. They take us to dinners and buffets. Sometimes even go up into the mountains to see the beautiful fall leaves, and we'll have a picnic. I think one time we even went to the movies, so that bus takes us everywhere. So it's just a big, lovely family here.
All the Middleburg residents, we'd gather here Thanksgiving and Christmas. You had the seniors, and then you had the kids from, the cottages in Llewellyn. And it was just great to see everybody celebrating together.
The first time I met Bob Dale, he walked in the building, had a big smile on his face. That smile never left his face. He comes here, he would call the bingo, he drives the bus. He goes get the Christmas tree, and then we see him down on his hands and knees, straightening it and getting it in the little container straight, help decorate it.
And we had Christmas presents, to hand out. It was just a very, joyful celebration.
He took us to the Festival of Lights a couple of times. One time I remember he took us, and it was just two of us. He said, "I'm not driving that big bus, let's go." He took us in his personal car, and we had a wonderful time. There's a picnic table outside in case we want to go out there and eat. He brought a barbecue. I will never forget this. One day when he was done cooking, he was in the kitchen doing the dishes. He cared about the residents most of all. He was from the heart. Whatever he did for us was from his heart.
I came into this wanting to make a difference in people's lives. They made a difference in my life. That's part of the significance of being involved with Wendy Hill.
Yeah, he goes above and beyond Call of Duty. And so does Ann Northrup. She's fantastic also. She brings us chocolate chip cookies when she calls bingo. It's a kind of magic when you're in person with another human being. You grow by listening. And many of the people here actually like to talk about their lives. You're a witness to something so valuable. And often it's a life that you know nothing about. And sometimes it's just fun and games. We can get silly and laugh.
Talking about hands-on, thanks to her, the community room there at Llewellyn Village, she really was instrumental in getting that back in operation. She cares so much about the residents, and especially the kids. She was a volunteer before she was a board member, and she still volunteers.
The help here is unbelievable, including all the volunteers. We have all kind of volunteers come here and help us. We have a lady that come help paint. We paint, and I can't draw stick people with a ruler, but she got me drawing a tree and birds. So it's wonderful.
The communities of Middleburg, the Plains, and Marshall, it's how they've embraced Wendy Hill, financially and then through volunteers.
I never differentiated between being a volunteer and being on the board. It's a rare opportunity. This is something that works. It's been working for decades. It changes lives of adults and children, and being any part of it is an opportunity for you to grow in your own life.
In 1963, a few days after I was born at St. Joseph's Hospital in Stamford, Connecticut, my parents bundled me up and they drove me the 5 miles home to our apartment to live with them, along with my oldest brother Bob, my second oldest brother Billy, and my sister Marie. The apartment we lived in was owned by the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. It was government housing. We called it the projects. Because we had a stable place to be, we didn't have to worry about where we were gonna sleep or how we were gonna do our homework. And that stability allowed me and my siblings to go out and do things, whether it was playing Little League, and you come home to your house. Playing tennis, come home to your house. Hang out with your friends, come home to your house. And you study. If you play an instrument, you practice in that house. You have a place to do everything you need to do. And you get into routines that are successful. You still have your challenges, but one thing you don't have to worry about is where you're gonna go home to.
Happiness, joy, peace, all of those good things rolled into one. Just so excited to walk in that door and say, I am home.